Hi, I'm Andrea Anthony, and you're watching Eat, Drink, and Bake with Andrea. Today is a beautiful day, so I think it's a great day to barbecue. So what I have on the menu today is some split chicken breasts, which are going to be barbecued, but first we're marinating them in a special marinade. And we also have a Grand Marnier Apricot Glaze to go on top. And we have fresh corn on the cob with a Tarragon Butter, and we're ending up with some very special cupcakes. They're vanilla cupcakes with a Lavender-Rose essence buttercream. So let's get started on our marinade. So we're going to start with our marinade. Now we're using a combination of spices, and we have a little bit of turbinado sugar. Cardamom is the main flavor, but it's very delicate. And we have some garlic and extra spices in there. But more importantly, salt. Salt is very important for a marinade because what happens with the salt is it draws the flavors into the chicken. Very important. Next, we need an acidic component where we'll tenderize our chicken a bit. So we're adding some freshly squeezed lemon juice, and this is the body of our marinade, which is our olive oil. Okay, so we have that all together, and we're going to give that a little bit of a whisk. Now you can kind of use your favorite marinade that you like, as long as it's mild. We don't want to fight the flavors of what we're serving it with, our apricot sauce. So whatever marinade you choose for this recipe, it should just be something mild that adds a little bit of flavor but doesn't overwhelm the chicken. That's what we're doing today. Okay, so let's get our chicken going. Now we have the skin on, we're grilling it, and the skin will help to keep the moisture in the chicken. So we have our skin on, split chicken breast, and what I'm doing is just tossing it around in the marinade. Okay, so we're gonna just delicately move that around. Okay. Now, once your chicken is covered, we're going to put it in a plastic bag, which will go into our refrigerator. But let's just toss it a little bit more. Now you see what I've done here? It's a little hard to maneuver chicken going in a plastic bag. You have to hold it in one hand and sort of maneuver it. So if you have something a plastic bag will fit over, that works really well with getting the chicken in there to begin with. And then we're just going to pour the rest of our marinade over the chicken. Okay. Now you'll need another bag, which we're using a bag that has a zipper lock on top. We're going to give that a roll, okay? And we're going to put this in another bag. Okay, tuck that away a little bit. And we're going to kind of move that around. And just for safety, so you don't have anything dripping into your refrigerator, I like to double bag it. Now the thing about the chicken is, it needs a good 3 hours to marinate. Very important. Overnight is even nicer, but 3 hours will do it. So we're going to get the air out of that a little bit. And about halfway through, just give it a little toss back and forth. Now, you can put it in a bowl. I mean, that's fine too. If you have room in your refrigerator, you can use a bowl and just kind of cover it with plastic, make sure it's away from anything that it might touch, and use your bowl. And you can toss it around about another hour and a half, or even several times throughout, just to make sure that the flavors are merging. And if it's in your bag, you can kind of just give it a little bit of a shake and make sure that the marinade is covering the chicken. And that's it. So we're going to get that in the refrigerator for 3 hours, and while that's happening, we're going to start our glaze. So this is a very simple glaze, only 4 ingredients. We're using apricot jam. Apricot jam is the base of it, and we have some freshly grated garlic, and we have a little bit of sesame oil toasted, and of course our Grand Marnier. So let's get over to the stove, and we're going to put everything together and get it going. Okay, so let's put our sesame oil in our pan, and we're just going to add our minced garlic, fresh garlic. Let's just let that sizzle a little bit. We're not going to brown it too much. We're just going to let the garlic get a little bit transparent, and then we'll add our other ingredients. Love the smell of sesame oil. It's very toasty. It's just got a nice fragrance with a combination of the garlic. It's just wonderful. And it adds a nice flavor with a combination of the apricot. It just all merges well. And of course our Grand Marnier puts the topping on it. Okay, so let's see how we're doing here. Just a minute or two. We're going to let that go just a little bit longer. It's coming along nicely. Extremely fragrant. Okay, I think we're good. Now we're going to add our apricot preserves or jam. Give that a little bit of a mix and just add the Grand Marnier right in there. Now, all we're going to do is let that come up a little bit to a boil, and then we're going to bring it down to a simmer, and it doesn't need a long time, about 3 to 5 minutes, and that's it. Then you just shut the flame off and let it rest for a while. Okay, so it looks like our glaze is ready. You see those bubbles? That's how you know. It's been simmering for a while, and we look like we're ready to go. We're going to get this over to the island, and we're going to split it up in 2 portions, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. So we've split our glaze into 2 portions. We have some that we're going to serve on the side with our chicken, and we have some that we're going to baste it with. Right at the end of the cooking process, we're going to glaze our chicken, let it cook just a little bit more so it congeals on the chicken, but we want to have some on the side. Now I need to point out that this does need to sit a little bit to sort of thicken. So now would be a good time to get our chicken going. We need about 20 to 30 minutes for our chicken. So let's let this sit a little bit. We're going to bring this over to the barbecue, and let's get the chicken going. So our chicken's been in the refrigerator for 3 hours. Now what we're going to do is take it out of the marinade. And actually this is nicely congealed, so there's nothing dripping off it, which is nice. So we're going to put that in our bowl. And we're going to grab our next one. I like to wear gloves in this process. As you can see, it's very messy. I'm always careful dealing with chicken and whatnot. Okay, so this is nicely marinated, and you know, there's a little excess. You can just kind of let that drip off, and we'll get that ready to grill. Now, what's important to note is that this needs to sit for about 30 minutes. We want our chicken to come to room temperature. It will cook more evenly, and it will cook faster. So you don't want it to be ice cold coming out of the refrigerator when you pop it on the grill. Let it rest for about 30 minutes, and then that's the time to put it on the grill. Okay, so this has been at room temperature, our chicken, for about 30 minutes, so it's nice and warm. We don't want to keep it at room temperature more than that, but 30 minutes. And we're going to start with the bone side down. Now, our grill's been greased, so you want to grease your grill just a little bit before you start. And we're going to put the bone side down first. Then we're going to close it. Now, our grill is on a medium flame. If you have a thermometer, you want to be around 450. Okay, so keep your eyes on that. Otherwise, just a medium setting, medium-high heat. Now, we're gonna leave it closed. We're not gonna touch it for about 15 minutes, and then we're gonna come back and flip the chicken. So it's been about 15 minutes, and let's check our chicken. Okay, yes, see how it's browned on the bottom? We're ready to flip. Okay, we're coming along nicely. So we're going to cover it, and we're going to let it go about another 7 minutes, and then we're going to check for temperature. It should be 165 degrees. I'd like to point out that I'm using tongs that have been washed because our other tongs touched the raw chicken. So when we're at this point, we want to make sure that we have tongs that have not touched raw chicken, which are these. So we're going to test it now. Okay, these are looking good, so I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to put our glaze on top. Okay, just give that a nice coating, and we're going to flip them. Let's do that one more time. Liberally on there, lots of nice glaze. Okay, I'm flipping them back now. Okay, so let's give it about another minute or two, and then we're going to check our temperature. We're looking for 165 degrees. Okay, we're going to take a temp now, Let's see where we are. Now you want to go to the thickest part of your chicken, and we're going to check for 165 degrees. Now it will cook a little more once you take it off, as in most meats. With chicken you have to be really careful, so I like to bring it up just about to 165. Okay, and we're good. Okay, and we're good there. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take our chicken off. We're going to tent it, and we're going to let the chicken rest for about 10 minutes. What happens when the chicken cooks is the juices come to the surface. When we let it rest, the juices redistribute throughout the meat and it makes it more tender and moist. So you need that resting time before you serve. We're going to get our corn on the cob started. We have a Tarragon butter for that. Now, simply all that is butter. I'm using lightly salted butter and chopped fresh tarragon. So we're going to add those together, and we're simply going to fold the tarragon in, just like so. And once it's mixed, that's it. The tarragon is a really nice herb that works well with our corn. It has sort of like a sweet, aromatic flavor and essence. And that's really it. We're going to put that in our bowl. And let's just let this sit just a little bit so that the flavors merge. And while that's happening, we'll get our corn going. Oh, one word about your corn. The husk should be nice and green. You want to take that off the corn with your hands, but then just go over it with a brush. Okay, and that will get rid of the little striations that might stick onto the corn. You don't want to get those in your mouth when you're eating corn. So that kind of helps you to move that along, peel that off, and there you go. So we're going to go over to the stove and we'll get our corn boiling. So we're ready to put our corn in, but first we're adding some sugar. Now, no salt in our water. We have boiling water, by the way, but we don't add salt because salt makes the kernels tough. Just sugar. Adds a little bit of extra sweetness. And we're going to drop our corn in. Fill your pot up about halfway. Nice to use a deep pot. You don't need a wide surface. Tall and narrow works well if you have that. I'm just going to drop that in. So we have our sugar in the pot. We're going to bring the water to a boil, and then we're going to cover it, reduce our flame, and simmer just for about 5-7 minutes, no more. We don't want it to get soggy. We want that corn nice and crisp. Our corn is done to perfection, so we're going to plate it up. See how bright? That's what it should look like. The kernels are nice and full. They shouldn't look waterlogged, so we know it's cooked just perfectly. Beautiful corn. So our corn is finished. We're ready for our dessert, which is our Lavender-Rose Essence Cupcakes. So let me talk a little bit about ingredients here. We have our dry ingredients for the cupcake mix, and that's our flour. We have some baking powder, salt. We have our sugar. And for our wet ingredients, we have eggs, vegetable oil, and we have our milk. Now, this is the heart of the recipe. A little bit of vanilla, a little bit of rose water, and lavender extract. Not too much. It's just an essence, which is why I use the word essence. It's not overwhelming. So if you were to taste it, you would think it's not flowery. It's just the right combination of flavorings to make them truly exquisite. Our buttercream ingredients are so simple. It's just butter, heavy cream, and powdered sugar. That's it, and some flavorings. So again, we have a little bit of vanilla, and we have our rose water, and we have our lavender extract. Just a touch to add that little bit of essence to the frosting. But let's start off with our cupcakes. We have our oven preheating at 350 degrees, and we're going to start off in our upright mixer. If you have a hand mixer, that's fine too. We're putting our eggs in, and what next? We're going to put our sugar in. So we have our eggs and sugar, and we're going to combine them a little bit. And next we're adding our vegetable oil. And you can use canola, safflower, I've even used avocado, they all work fine. And we want to cream that together so everything is nice and blended well. Smooth is what we're looking for right now. Okay, I'm going to just scrape the sides of the pan, the bowl a little bit. Okay, let's give that another mix. Now, going to add our lavender, it's lavender extract, our rose water, and a little bit of vanilla. Okay, I'm going to give that another little mix. Now let's combine some of our dry ingredients. So we have our flour here all measured out, it's been pre-sifted. We added our baking powder, and we have some salt. Just going to use the top of that to mix it together a little bit. And now what will happen is we're going to alternate some dry ingredients and wet ingredients. So let's start off with a little bit of flour in there in our baking powder salt mixture. And we're going to add a little bit of milk. Now give that a little bit of a mix because the flour will tend to percolate up right in our face. So we're going to start that mixed a little bit and then begin slowly. Okay, just combine it. So we're going to add a little bit more. Do this in about 3 stages. A little bit more milk. Once again, just moving the flour down a little bit. Just mixing, just to combine everything. And our last addition of our flour and the milk. Now at the end of this recipe, we're also going to add some water. And that's about a cup. Okay. Starting slowly. Okay, now I'm all combined now. So now I'm going to scrape the sides of the bowl. And then we're going to increase our speed and really get all those ingredients well blended. Okay, just scraping the sides there. You can smell the lavender and rose. It's just, the right word is exquisite. It's just such a nice fragrance, but not too overpowering. I don't even tell people what the cupcakes are. I've served these at so many parties. People taste them like, what is that flavor? And it's very hard to identify, but it's just subtle and wonderful. All right, let's let her rip a little bit here. All right, I'm gonna give that one more scraping just to make sure we've got everything on the bottom of the bowl, the sides. We want our batter well blended. Okay, we're looking good. We know it's done. See these little bubbles on top? Now here's a little trick for you. It's always hard getting a batter into cupcake tin without spilling on the sides. So I like to use a container like this. I pour my batter in. That's a quart container. Something you can squeeze. And we're gonna add it just like that. And you're gonna add about a little more than halfway. And these are the large ones, you'll notice. They're not the mini cupcakes. So if you were to use a smaller pan with smaller inserts, cupcake liners, obviously you'll get more. And the cooking time will vary just a little bit. These cook about 25 to 30 minutes. If you've used smaller ones, it's more like 20 minutes, 23 minutes. But we'll check for doneness with a toothpick. So whatever you decide to use, the test for doneness is a clean toothpick inserted in the middle, coming out. So that's good. All right, so let's pop these in our preheated oven. And these are gonna cook for about 25 minutes. Now I like to rotate the pan halfway through the cooking process. All ovens don't cook evenly. So we wanna make sure that all of this is cooking at the same rate. Some ovens have hotter parts than others, so rotating your pan kind of ensures that everything browns evenly. So let's get those going. So now for our magical buttercream. Okay, we have our powdered sugar there, which has been sifted, and we're adding our butter. Now this is lightly salted. I don't add extra salt. Salt's already in the butter. So all we're gonna do really is mix our sugar with our butter. Now once again, this is the tricky part because this is so powdery that it does tend to move upwards. So we're just gonna give that a little bit of a start. This is probably the worst part of the whole recipe, is not getting your powdered sugar all over the counter. Okay, so we get that mixed a little bit. So we're gonna add a little bit of the heavy cream, little by little. Another little mix here. And it's really just adding sequentially a little bit of sugar, a little bit of cream, and then we'll put our essence in. Okay, now let's just move our cream right on top of that. And I'm going to add in our vanilla, our lavender, and our rose water. Okay, and just starting very slowly. Okay, once you're combined, then we can really increase the speed and whip it all up. Very important, this is light and whipped really well. You want your buttercream to be beautifully mixed and just light and easily pliable. Okay, so let me show you what it looks like. Now the best way to use this, if you have a pastry bag. If you don't have a pastry bag, you really can use a spoon and you can move the butter on top, the buttercream on top of the cupcakes. Either way works fine. But in this case, we're gonna pipe them on. So I like to use a quart container. As you can see, with our pastry bag folded over, it's just easier to get the buttercream in. Now, as you see, we move it up, and it's a nice big pastry bag. We have our tip on the bottom. Then the next step is to squeeze it. Squeeze it toward the bottom, so there shouldn't be any slack over here, no air bubbles. That's why you want to give it a twist. So it should be nice and firm, and then we know our pastry cream is ready to come out. So let's go check on those cupcakes. We're gonna rotate them once just to make sure they're cooking evenly, and we'll be back. So let's give that a little bit of a rotation here. We're doing 180 degrees. Okay, and that's it. We're gonna let them cook for about another 15 minutes and we should be good to go. So these are finished. They were cooked perfectly. We checked with our toothpick, came out and everything was clean. And then the task is to let them cool completely. They can't be warm, they have to be completely cool or your icing will melt. And they are just perfect now. So we're gonna pipe on here. And here comes our frosting. And we're just gonna move it around, swirling it to the center. And we have a little colored lavender sugar, which you can find online. And by the way, the rose essence and the lavender, all available online. And a little bit of the pink. And they're beautiful, right? They're beautiful, but they taste fabulous. And you know, they're really good for any occasion. I find them, I've used them all year round. Whatever occasion, they just work really well. And you know, they're very light. It's a light cupcake. So it's versatile with any type of a meal you do. It's a nice ending to just about any meal. They can be casual, like today's picnic lunch. Our barbecue is very casual, but this is a nice elegant ending. And I've also done these at elegant dinner parties, so they're versatile, which is what I love. Again, twisting your bag, you always want to twist it to keep your buttercream down. No air bubbles, and a swirl. You can even put a few drops of lavender food color. I've seen them done that way also in your buttercream if you want it to be a lavender color buttercream. So I'm going to continue to frost these, and then we're going to put our meal together. So we have our barbecued split chicken breasts, which has been marinated in my special marinade, and we grilled them to perfection with our Grand Marnier Apricot Glaze. We also have our corn on the cob with butter and tarragon mixed together to make that beautiful tarragon butter to top it off with, and we ended up with our vanilla cupcakes with a Lavender-Rose essence. A casual barbecue ending with an elegant dessert. Thank you for watching Eat, Drink, and Bake with Andrea. Please follow me on social media at eatdrinkandbake.com. And for more information about my spice rub and recipes, you can visit eatdrinkandbake.com. And remember, it's all about great food, step-by-step recipes, and enjoying times with friends and family. See you next time.